If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go into Village, Facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy merch indeed, and y'all shall lead them.
And to buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener, yes, dear listener,
All
yes,
right.
dear listener.
So, song that we are on now is from the band Aeon. The name of the song is Doorknocker.
Anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
Not that I know.
All right. Aeon,
Not that I
Doorknocker. That doesn't have the lyrics on it, does it?
No.
This
I
was
don't
the
have
big
anything.
homie Bertil song. Shout out to the big homie Bertil.
Apologies if you sent it and I didn't see it.
All right, guys, here
All
we
of
go.
my emails are opened, so.
Doorknocker from the band Aeon for the big homie Bertil. Let's do this shiz. This is the Bertil says wait. Okay, we're gonna wait. This is the Different Sky stream, as you see there, dear listener. Bertil, Negative Vibes, Halendros, etc. Okay.
I'm in my email just in case you wanted to send something.
Okay, there is a description. So
okay.
Let's check it out. It's in the, I think they've already sent it in the email. So sit tight, dear listener. Listen, dear listener, when you become a DJ, you pretty much determine how the night goes. So if there's a description, we're going to wait a little bit, find the description and read it, because that's what the doctor ordered. That's what happens at a DJ screen. These 3 individuals got together and did it. So each of them...
Send it to the secret email.
Each of them basically decide how this is going to go. That's how it works for the DJ stream, dear listener. Shout out to Mojo. Mojo in the house. Yeah. So we are looking for the introduction. So yesterday we did the... it was an alliance stream of the Extreme Underground and the Epic Underground. So we did that stream. Both of those alliances came together so that they could have their songs listened to. Like I said, guys, there's multiple ways to get your songs. It looks like you should already have it from Kel. Oh yes, my brother Dwayne in the house. Big bro Dwayne. Dwayne the Beatles Chamberlain. Dwayne Beatle Chamberlain in the house. So we have... Is Kalendros is the one that sent it?
Okay, here's the description for Bertils. The vocalist of this band had a humorous story about a Jehovah's Witness storming into his house late one night and throwing a Bible at his head for listening to devil's music. This led to some quarrels between him and the witnesses, who regularly visited him and tried to convert him to Christianity. This was even covered by the local newspaper. He lived next door to a Jehovah's Witnesses family, I presume. This song is based on that story. No one got injured, maybe with the exception of the dignity of the Jehovah's Witnesses who tried to convert him. But a Bible was split in 2, as written in the lyrics, and see the talk about torture as his way of expressing his rage over that they couldn't leave him alone.
All right, here we go. Doorknocker by the band Aeon. Let's do it.
That's who the Doorknocker is. Okay.
Yeah, that's who the Doorknocker is. Yeah, but how does that guy feel about them, though? That's the question.
We're still left with a question mark on that.
I love when lyricists leave a lot of
mystery
open to interpretation.
Yep.
Okay. Well, look. Before we get into this, number one, pull the thing up again. The JW threw the Bible at the guy?
Apparently. I think that's what he said. Hold on. Let me look at that again.
We got to set some context so that people don't think that these
Jehovah's
guys...
Witnesses storming into his house late one night and throwing a Bible at his head for listening to devil's music.
Okay. Right? So that's the context. It's not that metalheads hate JWs. It's not even that they hate Doorknockers. It's that apparently they were getting into the middle of it, and then boom, he threw the Bible at him. I gotta say though, I'm pretty familiar with JW theology, and JWs don't believe in eternal conscious torment. So they don't believe in that. So I'm not sure if was it really Jehovah's Witnesses that really went after him?
I mean, honey, what?
What?
Sometimes you just get so technical with something like, this is not a theological conversation necessarily. I'm sure there's a lot of assumptions. It's not like they were sitting down shooting the breeze with these Jehovah's Witnesses to get an understanding of their doctrine. I mean, perhaps they were something else. Maybe they were the Mormons and they got them mixed up.
He said, "You promised me suffering from God's hand." Like,
I think
they don't believe in. Well,
no, I think that they said that they were. Maybe they meant hell, but I took that as, no, in this life, you're going to suffer because you're taking on devil's music. So you're not going to feel at peace. God's going to go after you for this. And because he says, I told you that hell would conquer. It looks like I'm right and you're wrong. Which obviously hell is not even in the picture. That's just talking about their life now. So I think he's saying, look, man, I'm doing really well. So your little threat meant nothing. Like, you know when religious people, they have a certain problem with somebody and they believe that God is going to ride on their behalf to punish somebody else for what they believe is wrong. And you know, God is not their little puppet. He's not going to just jump because, you know, Joe Schmo has a problem with this guy's music.
Right.
But this kind of reminded me, so there was this time that Vinny and I were in Home Depot. This is at the way beginning of the COVID stuff.
Oh, the COVID, okay.
Yeah, and there was a lady standing in front of the rack, and she was taking a friggin' 1,000 years to choose which shelf she wanted. Uh-oh. And I already knew which shelf I wanted, so I just, like, you know, reached in there and grabbed my shelf, and she started yelling at me, and she was talking about how I was supposed to be 6 feet away from her. Then she starts coughing on me, like, exaggeratedly. I was pregnant at the time. Yeah. I was pregnant at the time, so because honestly, I really felt like instigating that, like pushing that situation a little further because she was so friggin' over the top. But my thought was, if by chance she kicks my stomach.
You were tight
I
as
was
hell.
So frustrated.
You were mad as hell when you came home.
Yeah, so we wrote this song.
Bitch, where your fucking
bitch, wear your mask.
Fuck you with COVID-19.
Yeah. So
we should have released that song, bro.
I know it was just
that shit was legendary. We should have released that shit.
So anyway, so that song that we made there, that little 2-minute whatever, reminded me of this, like that kind of fight back.
It did the trick though. You were good after that.
Yeah. It's true. Yep, that's true.
What's the news, Michelle? Yeah, you were good after that. We wrote a little 2-minute song. That's the beauty of metal, dear listener. That's the beauty of metal.
Yep, it reduced my stress level. So
holy shit! In Sweden, there are about 23,000 Jehovah's Witnesses. La ilaha illallah. That's a lot considering Sweden's population relative to America. Holy smokes!
So I just think that, like, I can see both sides of this one, only because, like, there was a time where I would have thought that somebody that was playing this music and listening to this music was being heavily influenced by the devil. I for sure would have.
Yeah, but you would
have never thrown it. No, I wouldn't have.
You'd have more, not even because you're trying to be nice to them. You have more respect for God's word than.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that too. But the thing is, like, okay, so the way I'm looking at it as, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're very strict, right? Don't they have to go door to door as well?
Yeah, like you know, it's a works righteousness system.
So it's not like a system that promotes a lot of grace. So I think that you're already on the edge. You're probably already frustrated. I think that this is outlandish that they did this. I cannot believe that they comported themselves in this manner to go barging into somebody's. I think that's really.
But I've seen like you know, there was one particular fellow, we were on a mission, and he just completely lost his shit.
He did.
And I pulled him aside and I said, look, man, if you can't handle your shit like a man, you can't come out here.
He was a big guy too.
He was a big dude. He was 6'2", 6'3".
I was like,
and like he's like, Rah! Remember he like bent over, Rah! You know, his big old butt. You know, shout out to the homie. And you know, Donna was looking at me like. So I yoked him up. I said, listen, you know, this guy's got daughters there and stuff. Like, I didn't want to, you know, jam up in front of his kids, you know what I'm saying? I just took him aside and said, yo, if you can't handle yourself, bro, you got to get out of here, bro. Like, people take the shit not seriously. You can't take it too seriously, but they take it, like, personally.
Yeah, I mean.
Like, they're looking at it like you're, you know. Here's how I feel about the door-to-door thing, okay? If I was in a town and people were starving to death and I had a bread store, right? I come knock on your door and say, hey, I see you guys are hungry. I got a bread store. I'm the only bread store in town. Here's some free bread. if somebody says, man, fuck you, I don't need any bread, I'd say, you sure? Like, you sure you don't need any bread at all? Like, you guys are good? Yeah, man, fuck you. Fuck out of here. One last time, are you sure? You don't need any bread at all. You're good. Yeah, I don't need you and your bread. And they slam the door. Okay. I feel bad for them. Like, maybe they've gotten so hungry that they've been deluded into thinking that they're okay. So, spiritually speaking, if you really believe you have the truth, if you believe that you have the truth and that people are spiritually starving without your message, then, you know, it's like Penn Jillette said, like when, you know, a Christian, it's a famous clip on YouTube, a Christian gave Penn Jillette a Bible. Penn Jillette's a pretty famous atheist, almost anti-theist to a degree, but like somebody gave him a Bible and he was like, listen, if a person truly believes the implications of evangelical Christianity, that I'm going to be lost forever and suffering forever in hell if I don't hear this message, how much do you have to hate somebody to not tell them that? Mm-hmm. And it was an unbelievable, you know, act of, like I said in the previous song, trying to understand where the other person is coming from. But, so I think on both sides, it's, you know, there needs to be some understanding, you know, but I don't get from this that he just snapped because he's against religion. I mean... You mean snapped and wrote the song? Yeah, like, I'm not getting from him that this is like a Nergal, Satanist, like, you know, like hatred of God and Christianity. It seems, he has an awful lot of data. So, he talks about the interaction. I think there was that interaction, but it seems to me there was probably more because of the whole, like... Okay, where are the sufferings hiding as your Jehovah? Yeah. You promised me suffering from your God's hands. Where are the sufferings hiding as your Jehovah? I told you hell would conquer. It looks like I'm right and you're wrong. So that part tells me that they already had previous engagements before this Bible throwing. Well, yeah, they've had a lot of conversation. And he says up there, why don't you come back to insult me again? Yeah, and it just sounds like that the religious person was like really losing it, and that's the thing with, you know, a lot of religions is control is a big thing. And so if you're, you know, so for instance, there are some people that are so afraid of hell that they want to hear what you have to say because they want to do something right, because they don't want to die and go to hell, or they get really serious because they lost a child and they want to make sure that they'll be able to get to where that child is. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. So there's something else motivating why they're willing to listen. And then there are other people that they don't care. Like, they're not interested in it. And for one, you know, you whatever the reason is, you know, it could be that they had a bad upbringing in religion. It could be that they've been hurt very much by religion in other ways. Or it could just be that they don't have any interest in it. And I think that for some religious people, that someone who can't be controlled by fear is somebody that there's a lot of hostility toward that person, because they want that person to fall in line like everybody else. And so here's this guy, he's playing his music, and they have an opinion about it. Now, I think that they had an opinion based off their religion, but I also think they probably had an opinion based off their preference, because metal, especially this type of metal, it is a certain palate that you have to be able to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's really just not, like, there are certain types of music that I'm like, that's not my thing, but if it's playing, I'm like, that's cool. Right. But like this, if you don't like this type of music and it's being played, like, and you're living next door to it. I'll tell you. I had an old school. I mean, he died, and he rest in peace to the homie. And he was one of these old school guys, and he had a thing of, we're gonna hand out 100 of these little tracks, you know, little gospel cartoon thingamajiggies. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, we'll go out 20 times. We'll have 5. I'll take 3. You take 2. Blah blah blah. So we went door to door. It was like around December. So we show up at this house, and I swear to God strike me if I'm lying, there is a mailbox like in the shape of a skull, and just the whole house was like dark, like it was like decorated like Halloween in December, like like a week or two
You're like,
before
is
Christmas.
this the home of Stephen King? I do know he lives in Maine.
It was my turn. It was my turn. So I'm going to this house, and obviously I'm like, oh my God, here we go. This guy's gonna murder us. This guy's gonna really, really murder us. So we knock on the door. And he opens the door, and he looks exactly as I thought he'd look. Metal head, hair down to here, big guy, looks at us like, what do you want? And I was like, well, we're here, and we're Christians, and we want to blah, blah, blah. You know, I did a little spiel. And he looked at me, and he goes, okay, what's that? And I'm like, well, this little thing. He's like, okay, let's see it. And he looked at it, and he goes, all right, thank you. And I was like, okay. He said, yeah, thank you. I'll show it to my girl. I'll get inside. He closes the door, and I'm like, I completely misread the guy. So then we go to the next house, and it's decorated for Christmas. It's all this Christmas music. I'm like, figures you get the easy one. We knock on the door. Guy opens the door. Very pleasant. Hey, how's it going? So Jim starts his little spiel. Hey, we're Christian. As soon as he said we're Christians, he's like, oh, you guys, he just went off on us, blah, blah, blah. And so he's yelling at poor Jim. And Jim is like 5'3", very gentle individual. And Jim's like, well, just take the, you know, because Jim was an insurance salesman, so old school insurance salesman. He's used to going door to door and pushing the sale, right? So Jim's like, well, just take the thing. And the guy's like, rah! Like just breathing straight fire to poor Jim. And then, he's got all these, I look past him, he's got all these crosses and shit in his house. And his wife is like, Ray, what's going on? He's like, nothing, honey, just a bunch of religious zealots who I'm about to slam the door. And he takes the door, and Jim's like, just take the track. And I like took Jim backwards, and the guy slammed the door. But my point is, like, people's perceptions are unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a problem with going door to door, but I do have a problem with taking people's rejection of your message personally. Like, I don't understand. Like Jesus got crucified. Mm-hmm. Like, you follow a guy that got crucified, mm-hmm. and you're worried that people are gonna, you know, not agree with your message. Nobody wanted to kill us. I'm sure this guy, even though he disagreed, I'm almost certain that he was probably respectful, especially at the beginning. I'm almost certain this guy was probably respectful.
I would be willing to bet it, because I don't see the Jehovah's Witnesses coming in with that level of aggression unless they felt like they weren't going to get two-pieced. Right.
Exactly. But the aggression comes when the person is like trying to politely tell you, I appreciate your beliefs.
But this is not my thing.
It's just not where I'm at. Like, I saw that happen with my brother. My brother's on the train one time. He was taking me to go. I was going to go to some club, and he was on the train, and there was a bunch of metalheads there. And my brother sat down next to the guy and was talking to him about the God. Now, I was like far away from God at the time, so I'm like, yeah, man, you stupid as hell, bro. Go for it. I was sitting there listening to Mike Horn, but like I stopped because I'm like, yeah, I want to see this conversation. And the guy was so respectful to my brother. You know, my brother was like, okay, you know, whatever. But how can you take that personally? Like that tells me that a lot of this is about your ego and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree with the way that you see it and you phrase it. I mean, that's how I always felt about it. Anytime I did anything and somebody rejected it, I always felt really bad for them. I was like, man, they don't know what they're missing. But,
Right. Yeah, and look, you know, it all depends on how you interpret it. You know, like, I don't agree that being a fisher of men means to shove religion down people's throats. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jesus gave us the blueprint. He said, if you go to a place, find a person of peace. He says, find a person of peace. And he says, if the person receives it, then let the peace stay, you know, leave the peace in the house. But if they don't receive you, then wipe the dust off your and keep it. He didn't say, well, wait, he didn't say that. If they don't want to hear the message, that's cool, bro. Go for it. Like, you know, there was a little discussion in one of our forums, and people were talking about people using the Lord's name in vain. And, you know, I always say, like, I don't, obviously, if I could control it, I wouldn't have people use the Lord's name in vain. But I don't get offended when people use the Lord's name in vain. I truly believe the Lord is there. So I get nervous for people, because Jesus says every idle word out of the mouth will be accounted for. And when you think about that, that's pretty serious in my view. And most of the times I don't quote that scripture to people because I feel like it's like manipulative. Yeah. You know, if somebody's having a conversation with me and they say, "Hey, how do you feel about people taking God's name in vain or whatever?" I'll say, "Well, you know, what I hear anytime I hear somebody take God's name in vain, that's the text that I hear." Jesus says, "Every idle word will be accounted for." Which, of course, you immediately think to yourself, how many thoughtless, because the Greek word basically means thoughtless or careless. And you say to yourself, how many thoughtless, careless words have I said? How many things have I said? Especially if you make your living by speaking, which essentially we do, or on the other forum, this is something that I constantly have in my head, not as a fear thing, but as you're dealing with human beings. Yeah. And everybody knows if you get in a conversation with me, I'm going to have all my facts or whatever. But, you know, this is one of the words that God gave me last week. He says, because I don't have a problem with hurting people's feelings. And everybody knows that. But the Lord said to me, like last week, he said, yeah, surgeons wound in order to heal. Right? So surgeons wound in order to heal. So like this guy says, like, you insulted me. It's like, well, just because somebody says something that insults you, it doesn't mean that they wronged you. So for example, if somebody says, yo, you got a really short temper, bro, or like Peter, he said, you have a real propensity for violence. You said you left it behind, but you really haven't. Well, that's insulting. But he was right. But when he said that to me, I didn't get from him, I got you. It was just, this is an observation I made of you as a friend. So the Lord said to me, he said, surgeons wound in order to heal. But he said, they use a scalpel. They don't use a saw, son. And I was like, yo.
Yeah. That was last week?
Yeah, it was last week. So, so Sori's like, well, looks like you didn't get the message. Obviously not. I'm slow to learn. But, So like a lot of us, like, you know, all of us are works in progress. You know, I would never throw a Bible at a person, but, you know, you could metaphorically, you know, like I said, you know, obviously God has gifted me with a quick mind. I'm in a situation where I can always do my research. Most people have 9-to-5 jobs and shit like that. They don't have the time to sit there in hours and hours and hours. I can stay up till 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock because I don't have to wake up and go to work. So I got all this time to do all this research. So of course, when I show up, I have all my facts. Of course. But you have an unfair advantage. You're going to slice and dice somebody. You're going to actually try to like carry people along to the truth. Because I'm not a postmodernist. I believe there's actual objective truth. I truly believe that there's a person all of us are going to be held accountable to. But it's how you do it. And what I have found is, like, the more I love a person, the more likely I am to be gentle with them or say, you know what, let's talk offline or whatever, if I love the person. But there are other people I'm like, oh, that, you know, it's just kind of like back in the day, like, that's a target, you know, take down the target. And it's like, so that's kind of the thing that I have to, you know, deal with here. It's easy to look at a song like this and say, well, I would never throw a Bible at a person, and I would never harass somebody in their house, and I wouldn't. But you can't let yourself get off the hook. Okay? Like, there's other ways that shit can manifest itself, and you have to hold yourself accountable to that. You can't look at the crazy person and go, oh, man, that guy's crazy. I'd never do that. Man, fuck these religious people. I'm the cool Christian, which is what a lot of people in this space do when they're Christians. They want to be like the cool Christian that, like, goes after other Christians and look at those people. I'm glad I'm not like that. I'm the cool Christian. I swear, and I vote Democrat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to look at this song and, like, yeah, I'm not that specific guy, but how am I like that guy, and try to work from there. So that's how I look at it. It's a good song. It's a good song. It's only 2 minutes, but
it was only 2 minutes.
There's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah, it was obviously, it had a very juvenile feel to it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and it didn't seem very complex in any which way.
Yeah.
But I felt like the situation happened and he probably busted the song out right about then. So yeah, but it was still a fun listen, interesting story, and it brought about an interesting conversation. And I like what you said about not just looking at the religious guy and pointing at him and saying, well, he's crazy, but looking at where do we all have areas that we need to grow in, and where do we lose our cool? Okay, so
and there was some gnarly riffs. I mean, this was still, you know, most of us wouldn't be able to play this song very well. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, these guys are pros, obviously, and when you're a pro, you can do shit like that to blow off steam for 2 minutes and still do something that we can't do. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to them. This song's getting a solid 8 from me. A solid 8. I liked it.
5.5 for me.
Shout out to Bert. Shout out to Bertel. Shout out to the JWs. You guys gotta be a little bit nicer to people, man. Holy shit. Throwing Bibles. All right, Vin out.
Sorry out.
Go.